Mr. Abheek Singhi. He has led BCG's consumer retail practice in Asia Pacific, and he was nominated as a BCG Fellow in 2006. At the national level, he has been a member of the National FMCG Committee and the National Retail Committee of the CII. And one of his stellar intellectual contributions is his co-authorship in a best-selling BCG book named as the $10 trillion Prize, which was published by the Harvard Business Review Press. He regularly contributes to Wall Street, to the FT, to The Economist, to the Economic Times, Mint, Times of India, Hindustan Times. So you can conveniently gauge that his intellectual breadth and depth is considerable. I welcome you, Mr. Singhi.
What is likely to happen is probably something which I would, rather than paint a point scenario, I would actually talk about what the potential scenarios could be. The fact of the matter is that this is a fairly unprecedented situation. We've not had this kind of an event, these kind of things all coming together. I think just before we started off at 5, I was talking about that this is just not one phenomena coming together for the global economy. It is actually the combination of 3-4 things coming together, whether it be low energy prices, whether it be question mark of globalization, whether it be looking at how the new consumer is behaving, or also to look at what the balance sheets of the corporate and central banks are. So as we think about the impact on the economy, I know that what ends up happening is everybody looks at how the stock market is doing. So for everybody who talks about recession, I think it's important to keep in mind that it is not necessary that one is correlated to the other. Obviously, everybody feels bad when the stock market goes down. So a few days back, I was having a conversation with my driver, and he was feeling bad because the stock market had come down. And I asked him whether he owned any equities, and he said no. But everybody is saying that it has come down and it is bad, so it is bad. And I think that's the one thing which we should keep in mind with respect to the economy, that a lot of economy works on sentiment, and I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. That right now the sentiment is what we see happening on this page, which is it has gone south. I'll give you a couple of examples, probably to illustrate the point. So if you look at SARS, SARS happened in 2003 in China, and one of the interesting things is the rise of e-commerce and the rise of Alibaba in China happened at around the same time. And you can almost see a significant uptick in adoption of e-commerce by Chinese consumers at that point of time. Interestingly, if you look at globally, one of the categories which is supposed to be the most difficult for e-commerce adoption is FMCG, because it's low unit sizes, and therefore cost of delivery or the cost of logistics compared to the price of the product doesn't make sense. Because if you're sending across a $25,000 rupee cell phone, or if you're sending a 250 rupee bag of FMCG, the delivery cost remains similar, but obviously somebody is willing to pay that 100 rupees extra for the phone for delivery, but obviously not for FMCG. In China, what you see happening is, before the crisis, the share of e-commerce as a channel in FMCG was about 14%. In literally 2 months, that 14% has become 26-27%. So it took China close to 15 years to get to that 15%. In fact, even to get from 10 to 15% took them close to 3 years. In a span of 2 months, they jumped from 15% to 26-27%. So that's a massive structural shift which is there. And if you are a brick and mortar retailer who used to think that FMCG or grocery is one sector which is going to be very difficult for e-commerce to win in, that actually comes under question mark. So that's one example. The other example I'm going to give is actually from the US, close to 20 years back. Because, one of the arguments is that, nothing at the scale of what we are talking about has happened in the world. That's true. But, one close parallel is what happened in the US after 9/11, where you actually had